Matt Whitaker, former U.S. Acting Attorney General.
This is such a great conversation about America, our future, what's going to save our republic.
We have a great football player. Matt Whitaker is here. Matt.
They tried to bury me. They didn't realize I was a seed.
It's a touchdown. Whitaker.
Former acting U.S. Attorney General.
Under President Trump.
I'm going to be an unwavering supporter of law enforcement.
Welcome to Liberty and Justice with your host, Matt Whitaker.
Welcome to Liberty and Justice. I'm your host, Matt Whitaker. This episode, Season 3, Episode 1, and all season is presented by American Cornerstone Institute. My guest for the first episode of Season 3 is Tom Homan, a good friend and true patriot. You know, Tom was the director of ICE in the Trump administration and has just been a warrior. And I thought with the issues surrounding the border and what we're facing right now, I would hear it from the expert's mouth. So, Tom, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Matt.
Yeah, we have a large problem at our southern border, but I just want to hear, what you're seeing, what the vulnerabilities and some of the challenges that this administration's facing, but a new administration is going to have to fix.
Well, first of all, I want to say the impeachment of Alejandro Mayorkas, I think it's long overdue. I mean, I've been calling for his impeachment for 2 years, or starting it today, so better late than never. And the reason he needs to be impeached because, as everybody knows, in the Trump administration, we created the most secure border in my lifetime. I started in border in 1984. So, I worked border security and national security for 34 years, and I worked for 6 different presidents. And we finally had a president, President Trump, who gave us the most secure border ever. Then Joe Biden came into office, and within weeks, unsecured the most secure border. First president in history to unsecure the border, and Alejandro Mayorkas is the chief architect of it. So I'm glad they're impeaching him. But what I wake up every day angry because this administration came into office and not try to further secure the border or just, take the operation we had in place and just flow with it. They decided to tear it all down by writing over 90 executive orders abolishing everything we did. And what happened? We went with the most secure border of my lifetime. 45-year low in illegal immigration. Illegal immigration down 83 to 90%, depending on what time frame you look at. And within months, we have historic illegal immigration. First year, 1.7 million. Historic record. Next year, they beat it with 2.3. They broke their own historic record. The third year, 2.6. They broke their own previous 2 historic records. And right now, we're on a glide path to do it again. And so this administration has done this single thing and slow the flow. This is not, incompetence. This isn't mismanagement. This isn't by design. Joe Biden ran on open borders. He ran that, give illegal aliens amnesty, give them free health care, shut down ICE detention, put a moratorium on deportation. When you make those type of promises to the whole world, they're going to come. And that's what's happened. So, and even though the numbers have dipped a little bit right now, it's only because the last couple of weeks, Mexico has stepped up enforcement efforts after Blinken and Mayorkas went down there and handed them millions of dollars. And in response, President Mexico wants a bunch of promises, more amnesty, open the ports of entry, open the train stations. He's holding us a hostage. And the only reason Mexico's stepping up now is because of the election. They don't want Donald Trump to come back because he's going to secure the border, which puts Mexico in a tough spot. So they're going to use enforcement action to make the numbers look good. But here's something Americans need to know. The illegal entries will decrease, but the illegal aliens coming through the port of entry will increase. The numbers not going to slow a bit. It's a shell game. And it's all for political reasons for the election. And if Biden was to win another term in the White House, mark my word, the next day, we're back to record numbers of illegal crossing. This is only for political purposes. My opinion, we bring Donald Trump back. He secured the border once. We can do it again.
Yeah. And there were so many policies, I had a chance to, in preparation for this, to kind of write down some of the, things that we had in place in the Trump administration that Biden completely reversed, things like safe third countries, catch and release, ending that, what Donald Trump calls catch and release in Mexico. allowing singles, individuals to come into our country and not just sending them back. There's no prosecution for illegal crossing between ports of entry, for sort of repeat offenders, which is a felony. There's, they're not detaining anybody really. That was kind of one of the biggest issues when I was at DOJ that we were trying to figure out, was how to increase the detention capacity so we could hold these people until their hearing. Unaccompanied minors. The list is DNA testing for fake families. I'm just like looking at this list that I wrote down. No work site enforcement, all these things that were just completely undone, to your point, with 90 executive orders. Where, in your mind, and the problem is great, we're seeing it play out on our TV, but what do you think the most effective policy, for me, it was remain in Mexico. I think that changed the game, because, these bogus asylum claims, people couldn't, come to our country and wait for 4, 6, 8 years to have their hearing. But in your mind, what is going to be the most effective policy to change this?
The most effective policy in the Trump administration was the Remain in Mexico program. It was a game changer. I remember sitting in the Oval Office, and me and the President Trump were talking about it, and I shared some data points with him. He says, all these people coming across, he goes, do they all get green cards? And he didn't understand the whole process. And well, matter of fact, here, if you look at the immigration court proceedings, you look at the data over the last decade, nearly 9 out of 10 people who claim asylum at the border never get relief from U.S. courts because they simply don't qualify for asylum or they don't show up, right? So I said, so 9 out of 10 of them will receive an order of removal, either in person if they show up in court, or an order in absentia, which the court, they didn't show up, the judge orders review. 9 out of 10 lose your case. He looks at me and goes, what happens to him? I said, well, if you look at the Homeland Security life cycle report, Secretary of Homeland Security's very own report that tracks the life cycle of immigration, it says this: if you get an order of deportation and you're in an ICE bed, you get removed 99% of the time. If you're not in detention and you get a deportation officer, and let's say you're a family group, you leave 6% of the time. So the 9 out of 10 people that get an order of removal never leave. 94% stay. And they'll hide out, waiting for the next amnesty, they're waiting for the next DACA, whatever. I remember President Trump that came and said, well, that's stupid. Why are we doing that? So that's where he said the Remain in Mexico program was thought about. Said, look, they can still claim asylum, but they're going to wait in Mexico. And the 9 out of 10 that lose, no problem. They don't have to go find them. So it was a game changer. People can still claim asylum, but they're going to wait in Mexico. There's no catch and release for that 90% to go off in hiding. And the thing about the Remain in Mexico program, again, they still make a claim. It gets filed with the courts. But once the people realize they weren't being released in the United States to go into hiding, they stopped coming. The numbers coming into Mexico what decreased significantly. People weren't going to sell everything they owned and hand it over to criminal cartels to wait in Mexico. So they stopped coming, which tells me if you're really escaping fear and persecution from your own government, you can come to Mexico and wait it out. But we know most of the claims. It was a game changer. Remain in Mexico, number one. Number two, the third safe country agreement you just mentioned. Third is forcing Mexico to put military on the northern border, and forcing Mexico to get in the Remain in Mexico program and to put military in the southern and northern border. And it's against the law of Mexico to traffic in women and children, to alien smuggling. It's against the law of Mexico for anybody outside of Mexico to transit through Mexico to come to the United States without transit visa. President Trump called Mexico, this will stop. You enforce your own immigration law. You put military in the southern northern border. You're going to participate in the Remain in Mexico program. He didn't ask them. He told them. And if he didn't, he tear the hell out of them. That's the difference between the two administrations. Mexican president right now is calling all the shots. Biden's just sitting there listening and taking orders. President Trump was a game changer. He didn't do it. He threatened tariffs. He threatened international aid, and it worked. Most successful, most secure border in a lifetime because, look, let's face it, he was a badass president. He wasn't going to take it from anybody else. It was America first, and he demanded action, and he got it. And I thought it was great. And I think the only way we fix the border now is bring Trump back to go down that same road again. He's proven how effective he can be, and I think he's the only guy right now who can fix it.
I agree. I think the other thing we need to remember is it is essentially international law that you are supposed to file for asylum in the first country you encounter. And so these people should be filing asylum claims in Mexico or in some other country and not coming to our southern border and being let in again to live and work for a decade, quite
Well,
frankly.
that's the point. That's the point, right, Matt? I mean, it really isn't about asylum. It really isn't about fear and persecution. It's about coming to the United States. And they found a loophole. President Trump closed that loophole. And Joe Biden came back, opened it back up. And they know exactly what they're doing. Joe Biden was vice president in 2014, 2015. Alejandro Mayorkas was deputy secretary. We had a family surge. How do we stop it? We built detention facilities. We held people. Long enough to see a judge. You saw a judge. Again, 90% lost the case. We put in an airplane and sent it home. It worked. What are they doing now? They're not detaining him. They're being released without seeing a judge. And neither they get an order in absentia. Mayorkas has told ICE that being in the country illegally on his own with no aggravated felony conviction is not a target for ICE arrest. So he's doing the complete opposite, both these men, doing the complete opposite of what they know worked in 2014, 2015, which is deserving, in my opinion, of impeachment.
Yeah. So what is your opinion of how the interior enforcement is going to work? Obviously, the border's so overwhelmed. My understanding is that ICE is being used to kind of backstop the Border Patrol, which, obviously can't handle these record numbers. But let's say you get control of the border. I mean, how would you prioritize those interior enforcement efforts? Obviously, there has to be some way to get the worst of the worst first, but then to obviously make sure that folks that are here illegally are removed. And because again, while we are the most generous country in the world, we admit over 1 million people, as you know, to lawful permanent status every year. We have to have an orderly system that serves the American interests. And right now, it's not. It's it's serving foreign nationals that want to come here for economic opportunities. But what would you say to that?
Well, I think the first thing people need to understand is Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the agency I used to run. They've been decapitated. I mean, their mission has been squashed. I mean, if I looked at when Mayorkas first came out with the ICE priorities, who can ICE arrest? I took a look at it, and I did this, I testified in the 5th District Federal Court in Houston when Texas sued Biden for the ICE priorities. And I looked at the criminal aliens arrested on the Trump administration. Again, 91% of everybody we arrested on the Trump administration was convicted criminal, illegal alien. I looked at those criminals that we arrested on the Trump administration, and under the new Biden-Mayorkas policy, over 80% of the criminals we arrested and deported under Trump are off the table. You can't arrest those people anymore. So again, you got to be illegal in the United States and be convicted of an aggravated felony, which is the most serious crime on the books. And when they're convicted of aggravated felony, it's too late. They've already harmed U.S. citizens. They already caused chaos. And we shouldn't wait for them to commit an aggravated felony before we target them for arrest. There's nothing in the Immigration Act that says you got to have yet another criminal activity other than entering the country illegally, which is criminal, to be a target for arrest. But under a Trump administration, look, and this, I'm glad you asked that question because I've been interviewed. Well, Trump is going to build concentration camps, and he's going to sweep neighborhoods, and he's going to destroy families, and it's just crap. Every person that's arrested by ICE is done on a fugitive operations worksheet. It's just an operational plan. They know exactly where they're going and exactly who they're going to arrest. And as there children in the household, does this guy have any weapons violations? There's no sweep here in neighborhoods. That stuff went away 30 years ago. So it's a target enforcement operation. Under the Trump administration, there is going to be the biggest deportation operation in history because we're on the heels of the biggest illegal immigration crisis on the southern border. Of course, the number of removals were to match those being ordered removed. But we always prioritize our criminals, as you said first, and national security threats. But the point is different. No one's off the table. So if we find you and you're an illegal alien here in violation of law and you had due process, you got an order removal, guess what? You're going home. So no one's off the table. And first, when I became ICE director, I made that very statement that if you're in the country illegally, you better be looking over your shoulder. And of course, the Dems would at me said, "Oh, that's racist." Well, you put fear in the immigrant community. I said, "I'm not putting fear in the immigrant community. I'm putting fear in the illegal immigrant community. Immigrants come here illegally." I said, "Besides, I I don't go 120 miles an hour on I-95 over here because I don't want to get arrested in a speeding ticket. I don't lie on my taxes. I don't want to be in prison for tax fraud. There has to be a consequence. It's not okay to enter the country illegally, which is a crime. It's not okay to make a false claim to asylum, which is a felony. It's not okay to ignore a federal judge's order to deport. That's not okay. So they need to be looking over the shoulder. That's what it's supposed to be. So the Trump administration, we will prioritize national security threats and public safety threats, but no one's off the table. And here's how. Congress wants to give us a hell of a lot more detention space and more officers. And I'm a big proponent of bringing ICE agents back from retirement or Border Patrol agents back from retirement, or those that quit because they're so fed up with this administration they can't do the job. Bring them back first. But they're also, I think, either executive order. I'm not an attorney, you are, but I think there needs to be executive order or some legislation that says this. If you get an order of removal issued by an immigration judge and you fail to depart, you are never eligible for an immigration benefit the rest of your life. A vast majority of those people that are fugitives right now will go home because they have U.S. citizen kids here. Someday they'll be petitioned by those kids. They can come in on a work visa. They can come in on an amnesty or some other immigration benefit. But if you set the record straight with every one of them, if you don't leave, you will never be eligible for another immigration benefit the rest of your life. They will self-deport. A lot of them would because, again, the person they do it again has a U.S. citizen child. And that child can petition for them at a certain time. So they'll leave. So I think, and the second thing we do is fix the immigration system, right? If we need if we need the type of employment work that people say only illegal aliens can do, okay, then create a process where they come in with a visa, go to work. It's just seasonal. If they come here to pick crops, it's seasonal. Send them home after they're done with their pay. Come in the legal way. And what does that do? That shuts down the criminal cartels. They're not raping women. They're not misusing the migrants. Migrants are coming through the port of entries with a work visa. We can fix it. But that only happens when you secure the border first.
Right. I agree. And there's, Tom, there's so many things that I wanted to pick up on. I want to underline and highlight, sort of what you just said, which is the rule of law and due process and those basic fundamental American values have to be honored in this, system that we are trying to, fix once Donald Trump wins the White House. But I think the immigration piece is so important. And I mentioned how we need a system that serves the American interest, and we need to be open to stealing the best and the brightest from around the world. I mean, if there's people that want to contribute, start companies, they're super smart, they're doctors, whoever it is, there should be a process that they can come to our country and live the American dream. It's this lower skilled worker that is really an interesting policy thing going on because, Tom, they're competing with African Americans, legal Hispanics. They're driving down wages because they're flooding the market with unskilled, uneducated labor. And that's what I think is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous public policy. And, we do need probably Congress to act a little more on that, to your point, to allow, whether it's ag, manufacturing, whatever industries feel like they need these unskilled, uneducated workers. There should be jobs for them, and then you should fill those jobs. You shouldn't just allow millions of people to come in unregulated and have them compete in the kind of gray and black economy.
And look, and what people don't realize, they say President Trump's anti-immigrant. No, he's not. I was part of a working group on President Trump. We created immigration legislation that was based on merit, right? For those, those that the skills we need in this country, whether it's medical or some sort of technology or whatever, but there's still a place for family, husbands, wives, children, not second cousins or the third cousins of your neighbor. It's a husbands, wives, children, and the immediate family that was still in it. So we had a plan to do exactly that, the right way to do it. And you're right, to driving down wages. Here's a specific story I had myself. Put a new roof in my house a few years ago in my home here. I had to call 5 different companies before I got a company to guarantee me a legal workforce. I called 5. Meanwhile, a gentleman showed up. It was just him and his son. And he come to look at the roof, and he said, well, so I can just not do a whole roof replacement. I was just hoping to repair the storm damage. And I said, no, the insurance company said I need a whole new roof. So he goes, well, me and my son can't do a whole roof. It'll take us too long. So he started talking to me. He goes, you get quotes from around? I said, yeah. I told him to come. He gave me some recommendations. He goes, I said, so why? You and your son? I was, Mr. Homan, I used to have my own business. I used to employ 20 U.S. citizens. He goes, and I'm paying them a good wage to get up on a roof in the summertime and put a roof down. Then all these other companies got the illegal aliens that put them on the roof at $5, $7 an hour. I couldn't do that. So I lost all these bids. I could never win a bid. So I eventually I had to lay off the 20 U.S. citizens. Now me and my son just do small jobs we can do ourselves. That's just one example of thousands of U.S. businesses that hurt by illegal aliens employment. And look, no one hires an illegal alien out of the goodness of their heart. They can work them harder, pay them less, and undercut their competition. So that's why E-Verify, I've always been a proponent of E-Verify. It's not a foolproof. It can be beat certain ways, which we're not going to discuss on the air, but it would control 80% of the cheaters and make people use E-Verify. Look, it's running wages down, and you're right. When I was vice director, we shut down a meat factory. I think it's a sausage making factory in Chicago, if I remember right. We took over 100 illegal aliens out of that place. Within a week, they were back up and operating from the black community. I've had 3 different black pastors, 3 from Chicago, call me, begging me to get Trump to Chicago to do a rally because the black community feels they're being left behind. Illegal aliens are taking their jobs at half the rate. They're getting free housing, free medical, free meals, and the black community is suffering. So you're right. This is affecting those in the United States. Our taxpayers are not only footing the bill for this, they're getting hurt by this, especially the lower income American families.
Yeah. There's not enough time. We only got a few minutes. One thing I'd like to put a footnote on that whole, because you're absolutely right. We have to also understand that corporate America in the United States does not want a controlled border. They are in cahoots with the Dems because it brings them more customers. They don't care who's spending the money. They just want them to spend the money. And if you have more people in the United States spending the money, at their restaurants or buying soda or whatever it is, and that's why they're they're against these kind of policies that bring a kind of a rational, orderly system to both immigration to our border. I want one other thing, Tom, while we just got a few minutes left, and that is recent statistics. Everyone saw the headline of 300,000 people coming across illegally in December. But the thing that scared me the most was the 100,000 gotaways between the beginning of the fiscal year and the middle of January. So it's about 75 days, I guess, or so. Talk about gotaways and why those are the most serious threats to the United States of America.
Since Joe Biden has taken the White House, we got over 1.9 million gotaways. Known gotaways. What's a known gotaway? That's someone across the border. They're caught on video, drone traffic, or sensor traffic. So there's an image. They cross the border, but weren't apprehended because the border patrol's too busy changing diapers, making baby formula, doing all the other stuff. 1.9 million. Here's a scary thing. Border patrol's arrested people from 180 different countries. Some of these countries are sponsors of terror. They've arrested over 300 people since Biden been in the White House on the southern border that's on the terrorist watch list. More on northern border. Let's just talk about southern border, over 300. Under the Trump administration in 4 years, we had 11. Under Joe Biden in 3 years, we had 300. I mean, we had 11 in 4 years. They had 18 last month. So if they've arrested that many people on terrorist watch list, and we got 1.9 million people, how many of them come from countries sponsoring terror? Because terrorists don't want to be arrested, right? They don't turn themselves in. So people got to understand, why would a terrorist choose that route? Well, after 9/11, as you know, we created all these databases. We got the visa security program. We got the TSA no-fly list. We got the FBI screening database. All these different things to prevent a terrorist from getting a visa, comes to the United States and doing what they did at 9/11. So you got all these vetting programs. What terrorist is going to put himself in a position to ask for a visa or a plane ticket when he knows he's going to go vetted? He's going to be vetted. When he can simply get to Mexico, pay the cartels a little bit extra money to be a getaway. Illegal aliens pay the cartels 2 amounts of money. One amount just across the border and turn yourself in. Cheaper than paying a higher amount to get away, to get to New York, get to Chicago, get you all the way to the inner city. Why did 1.9 million choose to pay more to get away? Why didn't they pay less, turn yourselves into Border Patrol, get released within 24 hours, get a plane ticket to the city of your choice, get work authorization, and even if you get order removed, ICE isn't looking for you. Who the hell wouldn't take advantage of the giveaway program for less money? 1.9 million people chose to do that. And who are they? Well, there's a reason they did that. They don't want to be vetted, don't want to be fingerprinted. They're carrying the fentanyl. They're sex trafficking women and children. They're gang members. And God help us, they're from a country sponsoring terror that came to this country to do us harm. Do I think terrorists across the border are in Joe Biden? Absolutely. No doubt in it. Do I know how many? No. But someday we're going to find out. There's going to be a bad day for America. I guarantee it. And I hate saying that. It's coming. It's coming.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, Tom, thank you so much. As we conclude, how can people learn more about what you're doing and what you're up to now?
Border911.com. I got the best border security team in the world. Got Mark Morgan, CBP Commissioner under President Trump. I got Rodney Scott, Chief Patrol Agent, Career Border Patrol Agent under President Trump. I got Jason Jones, a border correspondent with Newsmax. I got Derek Maltz, Career DEA Director, the expert on fentanyl and drug smuggling. I got Sarah Carter, who's spent 20 years investigative journalist. Border911.com. I brought all these experts together. We're traveling around. It's a nonprofit, not making a dime. All the money collected goes to our operation. We're going around the country having big events to educate people on why border security matters. It's just not about illegal immigration anymore. It's about border security. It's about fentanyl. It's about terrorism. It's about sex trafficking. We want to educate that border security is this serious. Regardless what your opinion is on illegal immigration, border security is important. So when you get that vote, you go to November. Vote for border security. So go to border911.com. You'll see what we're doing. We got an event at Mar-a-Lago on April 4th. You better be there. If not, I'll hunt you down. April 4th at Mar-a-Lago. I'd love you to come down to speak. And we'll talk offline about it. But it's going to be a great event. So border911.com. Check it out. I think people understand what we're trying to do here.
All right. Well, Tom Homan, very much appreciate your time. Thanks for joining me on Liberty and Justice and being my first guest on Season 3. I can't believe it's been that long.
Well, congratulations on Season 3, and thank you for inviting me, man. I appreciate it.
Liberty and Justice.